Nice to be part of the third-party head gang. Couldn't agree more, Batman. What do you look like before? Check out this photo from my first Batmobile license. Hello my friends, welcome back to a player display. Let's have a look at the DC Multiverse Todd McFarlane Batman 1989. Now this is a single release of a figure that we've already seen on two other occasions. First time, I believe it was the Amazon exclusive Batman and Batmobile 2-pack, which I believe is still floating around and you still might be able to get it. Then they released the figure again in the Batman Warner Brothers Anniversary 6-pack, and that's where I got my Batman from. But now I want to get the second one here because it's basically Batman with accessories now. So the whole reason why I got this figure at all is simply to take all these hands and all these pretty shiny little gadgets and gizmos and give them to the Batman I already have, who has a custom cape and third-party head sculpt. So this is basically, for me, an upgrade kit. Not too sure what I'm going to do with the Batman here, but I always figure something out. I'll give him custom paint or something. I'll do something fun. Maybe turn him into Batman Returns. I don't know, but time will tell. Until then, though, we can at least review this figure for what it's worth. Here we have the very standard, basic, boring McFarlane presentation. It's exactly what you expect. You got DC Multiverse, Batman, figure, accessories. On this side, we have Batman 1989, so it's nice that we have that distinguisher. Just window on the side. Off to the back, though, one thing I really love is this black and white shot of Michael Keaton's Batman. I think that looks really sick. So that's about it for packaging. So let's get right into unboxing with the help of our friends Betsy and Donnie. Let's get this done. Yeah, so like I said before, I got this figure mainly for the accessories, so I already kind of knew what I was getting into. As for the figure, though, it's largely exactly what you expect, but the one change that they did make, I think, was a misstep. And as for the things that they could have improved with the figure, they didn't even touch. So anyways, let's get into it. It's not like the worst toy ever. I'm not trying to put it across as that, but there are some missed opportunities for sure. Starting off with the head sculpt, this is exactly the same head sculpt as we saw with the other three releases, and it don't work. Every time I look at this head sculpt, I like it less and less with each release that I've seen, for two reasons. First of all, it looks nothing like Michael Keaton under there. I don't know who that could be. I'm just not seeing that chin. I'm not seeing the pouty lips. It's just isn't quite there. Second thing, of course, we all know this. We know the head cowl is supposed to be one solid shape, and he's not supposed to be able to do this. He's not supposed to be able to do this, or this, or this. This whole thing should have been one singular head sculpt. This is the third time they're releasing this figure. It would have been great if they had said, you know, third time's a charm. Let's give him a proper single head sculpt with no articulation, so he's got that streamlined look. But they didn't do that. I mean, it's nice that people who weren't able to get the gold label or get that 6-pack are finally able to get this figure, but it would have been more worth the wait if the figure itself actually had some real upgrades to it, know what I mean? And that definitely cannot be said about the head sculpt. So, moving on down, we have the 89 logo down there, which is different from the later logos because we have the two corners down there, and that's how you're able to tell. One thing about it, which I don't understand why they didn't do it here, is it doesn't have the black oval going around it. I traced that in on my version of it, but the reason why I say it's odd is because I distinctly remember on the Nightfall Batman, they definitely did that, and that was like a separate piece, so they painted it there, but they didn't do it here, so I find that a little weird as well. As for the rest of this body, we'll talk about the cape a little later. I got some words. The rest of the body is exactly the same as we've seen before. We have a really awesome musculature on the torso, which I really do love. Down to the arms, everything here is exactly the same, except for the hands and the wrists. The hands are different because they are interchangeable, and instead of fists, they are grips, and also they're removable, which also indicates we have a different peg right up there. So that will allow hands to be swapped, which is why I'm going to probably just remove the entire arm and swap them with the Batman I currently have, so it's like a definitive Keaton Batman. Moving on down, one thing I never really understood is all three releases have had the golden belt, but for the life of me, I remember in the movie he has a yellow belt, but people don't seem to really poke at this belt at all from what I've seen. So I don't know why they didn't do stark yellow this time around. If they did, I'd probably do a trunk swap, but it still looks good. It's well sculpted and everything. It's all the details. Got little cylinders going around it. Very nice. Got the black diaper there. One of the few cases where a McFarlane diaper actually makes perfect sense for the character. That's how it's supposed to look. Got some pretty straight up spandex going down the legs. The knees feel a little bit off color. It would be nice if they had a bit more gloss to match. Same goes for the 6-pack release, which I'm referring to on the side as I review this figure. And then we have his really cool tactical boots, which I really love. I like how it has this flap up here over the ankle. I don't know what that's for, but it looks really neat. It looks very gothic. I mean, we're talking Tim Burton, right? So anyways, that's it for the base figure. I mean, it's all the same. If you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all. The only difference, aside from the hands and the wrists and the logo, which was gold on the very first release for some reason, I'm glad they changed that since, is the cape. Now, it is a new cape, and there's a reason why it's done the way that it is, but overall, I don't like the thing. Firstly, it's made of a very, rigid, too shiny material. And this material looks good on other Batman. I think it looks really nice on the Nightfall Batman that we saw in the Bane and Batman 2-pack. I thought it was really well done there. There's some other characters that had the shiny texture that I thought it looked pretty good with. Here we have it again on this Batman, and firstly, the shine doesn't work for this character. It should be more leathery, pleathery looking. And second, one thing that the other shiny capes have that this one lacks is wire. It does not have any wire, so as a result of that, there's nothing to counter the stiffness of this cape to make it look natural. So no matter which way you put it, it kind of flares up. You could try tucking it down the shoulders, and granted, it'll give them props for that. They tried giving him a little bit more cloth, so you can attempt the cloth over the shoulder look, but it still looks pretty awkward, and it's best to just shove it back, but even then, it kind of just pops up, and it's really weird. I don't love this thing. And the last thing worth mentioning is you would have noticed that we have some extra stitch work off to the corners, and that is because he has a flying out feature, because hopping ahead to accessories, he has these two almost tonfa looking things, which he can hold, and then they insert into those pockets over here, and then he can do the flying out pose. Now, that's cool in theory. In execution, not only does it not look good, but there is a better execution. If they forgot about the pockets and the tonfas, and gave him a wired cape, he'd be able to stretch out and have his arms up. So his arms wouldn't be directly connected to the cape in any way, but it would still sell the illusion that he's able to just branch out like that. My custom one, which we'll look at in size comparisons, he can spread out the wired cape and lift up his arms, and he looks just fine. But here, you gotta go through the effort of getting the tonfas in the hand, then slipping it into the pocket, then stretching out the arms, and getting the symmetry right, and it's just a whole bother. If they just did a wired cape, I think it would have been so much better for a variety of reasons. Again, to counter the material of the cape, and to make the wing pose just look more natural. So, yeah, this cape's a misfire. I really have nothing good to say about it. It's a big disappointment. I think the material's cool, just not for a cape. So, anyways, moving on to accessories, the part I think we're all here for, right? Alright, here we are at the accessories, and I will say straight away, some are not as great as others. But before you get into that, let's get into the basics. Firstly, DC Multiverse figure stand. And next up, we have the trading card, which admittedly looks really awesome. Same portrait that we saw on the back of the box. I love that black and white. Very cool, even though this character was never in the black and white era of film. But it's fitting to him with the whole gothic thing, I suppose. Now, looking at the bio, I think it is specific to this movie, so that's good. They're not recycling the same one. I think this might be the same text that we saw with the 6-pack one. I can't speak to the Amazon version because I never owned that, nor do I plan to. I do not have room for a full Batmobile, alright? So I'm sorry about that. But, so those are out of the way. Now let's talk about the actual hard plastic here. First thing we have, just panning on over, we have the grappling hook, which is the thing I think I was most excited about. Looks good. It's got the black main gun portion and the golden hook at the front, which is great, but I do think it is too big. This kind of reminds me of when we looked at the Batfleck, the single release one, and he had really oversized batarangs. That's kind of what we're seeing here. Speaking of batarangs, let's actually hop ahead a bit and look at his batarang that he does come with. This thing is chunky and very soft looking. I don't know what went wrong here. It just feels like the edges aren't as crisp as they should be. One other complaint I have is that those two little corners at the bottom are not in silver. I think that is a missed opportunity for sure. thing's really thick as well. The thickness isn't so bad. It's really just those rounded off corners that make the thing look really pudgy and strange. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but maybe when I put it in his hand, my opinion will change, but we'll find out. Next up, we have the two Tonfas. That's just what I'm going to call them because that's what they are. If you don't want them for the cape feature, then hey, they'll be a fun weapon for maybe some goons or something like that. But they're identical. Basically just a pole rig with a grip at the bottom. You gotta hold it like that, swing it around. Kind of fun, pretty neat. And we'll test that out with the cape rig a little bit later. Next up, we have two shurikens, and these are definitely not in the movie. They were included with the Dynamic Action Heroes version of him that we reviewed so long ago. Another controversial Batman figure that I've reviewed. And I think from what I've heard, these are from deleted scenes or bonus content or something like that. So while they're not accurate to the movie, you can give them to Batman if you want to change things up a little bit. Next thing we have here is his Batmobile remote, walkie-talkie. I don't know what the technical term is. Let's push in. That guy's a little small. This is actually probably the best proportioned thing compared to all the other accessories here. But yeah, just a little black brick with a small silver voice input section. I don't know what the technical term is. And also you have a little Bat logo there. It feels a little Adam Westy. Can never go wrong with that. Very good. Now, the thing that I care about here are the alternate hands. As you saw before, bringing the figure back in and popping the cam back out, we have two default gripping hands. Not quite trigger hands. I guess they could be. Maybe you'd want to get an X-Acto knife to that finger there, and then he'd be able to hold more of a trigger gun. But again, if we're talking grappling gun here, there's no trigger on it, so you don't need to worry about that. But yeah, both of these hands are basically the same. But the default hands that the other two Batman came with, who did not have interchangeable hands, were the two fists. These are exactly the same. Why would they be any different? They look good. They got the glove pattern on them. Everything's nice. Very sleek. Nice gloss to them as well. Moving on, we have two alternate gripping hands for his right hand. This one's a little bit smaller. I believe this one is for his little intercom here. Probably slot that in through the top, maybe? I don't know. It's a little tight. I'm trying to think what would hold this, because it is a really tight grip. Maybe this is for the Batarang. Try slipping that in. That seems a little better. I mean, it doesn't look awesome, but that does slip in. And yeah, I think this is meant for the Batarang. So to remember that, I'm just going to keep that right in there. And I'll make swaps a little easier later on. But this seemed too tight for the intercom, which worries me a bit. You know what? Screw it. Let's just hop ahead. I don't care about the organization of this video anymore. Let's just get the walkie in there. And that should fit in his default grip hand. Yeah, that's nice. And then he can manipulate the wrist joints. That way it's facing more towards him if he wanted. So that's very good. And we also have this wider hand over here. So I guess this is for the grappling hook. Let's give that a shot. Or grapnel hook, as Arkham City would call it. Yeah, that's definitely for the grapnel hook, but it certainly looks way too big. But once again, for safekeeping, we'll just leave that in there. And lastly, we have this outstretched, I don't know, it could be a relaxed, gesturing hand, maybe you just threw a Batarang. It could be multi-situational, but I like it. I kind of wish we had another one for his right hand as well. This is for his left. And on that note, yeah, there are less left hands than there are right hands, which always bugs me just a little bit, but I always find a way to get along. So anyways, let's just move right into accessories and hand swaps. So we're going to pan up a little bit here. Here we've got Batman, and let's just start with the wings. So like, why build up the tension, right? So let's get the Tonfas in his hands. I suspect these are the hands that we'd want to go with here, a little bit more open. Still a little tight, but yeah, so we can squeeze that in there, and then get the cape. Well, then how do you, I guess you can articulate it, like spin it back, slip that in, and spin it back forward. Oof. It looks weird and it feels weird, I'll say that. And then getting one corner up, it doesn't look too terrible. It casts the right silhouette, but when you look at all the mechanical stuff going on the inside, it just feels really odd. So let's do that again on this hand as well. Port this Tonfa, this hand. These hands are definitely tight, so keep that in mind, but not a problem for me because I don't plan on ever using these, but for the sake of demonstration, we'll keep on going. Move the Tonfa up a little bit, slip it into this pocket with a little bit of effort, spin it forward again, And then he has almost had flying effects. Now, this is movie accurate. I do believe in that one shot he was holding rigs to get the cape to go out, but in terms of an action figure, he really doesn't need that. He just needs wire and he'd be fine. But if we pull him back, the silhouette is there. So I will give it props. It does look good. This corner's kind of bending down. It's a little better. Okay. If we flip it around, that actually looks really cool. That feels more Arkham than Batman 89 than anything. So, okay, those work out pretty alright. Quick sidebar, just to show you the difference that a wired cape would make, just for good measure. Let's have my custom one out here with a third-party head sculpt. All I need to do, it's really that simple. Just bend it up, arm out, and you don't even need the tonfas, right? It's suggested. In fact, it might even look more realistic that way. So, I don't know, you could really go either way. Both of them work, but this I just love so much more. And then you got the cape on the back. I don't have a link to the cape, unfortunately. I bought it a long time ago, but do a quick eBay search. You'll be able to find it pretty easy. But yeah, I just want to show you that difference very quickly. I definitely prefer wire over the weird tonfa rig that they came up with. And they're already doing wired capes, so I don't know why they decided to go this route, but I guess if you wanted it super film accurate, then you could do it. You have them, so it's there. Anyways, enough about that. I'll shut up. Let's move on to some basic hand swaps. Not gonna do them all, because again, that would take forever. Let's do the grappling hook, and that should pop in fine with the modified peg. There we go. And yeah, it definitely looks quite big. Here, let me zoom in a bit. It's getting a tad blurry. It does look like it's on the big side. So keep that in mind. Not too terrible. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but not the best either. Moving on to other hands, we can also give him the Batarang holding hand. That has to be what his hand's for, because it could be good for the shurikens now I think about it. You can hold the Batarang. I believe the only time he throws a Batarang in 89 is at the very beginning, where he throws one up with the rope on it, and he kind of drags a thug towards him in that opening scene. But yeah, if you just want him throwing one straight out or using it to string somebody close like a lasso, then you could do it. And yeah, admittedly, in his hand, it's not the worst thing ever, but they could have certainly improved it. As for the shurikens, I expect they'd go in this hand. I don't really know, actually. Like maybe pinch it in between his fingers. And these definitely look a lot more on the thick side. So proportionally, I think these are quite the offender as well. But yeah, you can kind of hold it like that. I don't know. Again, you never saw him with these in the movie, so they're kind of an odd accessory for him to have. One thing that the Dynamic Action Heroes one had, that this guy could have had, is that super special grappling hook that branched off to the sides when he was in that museum with the Joker, and he was reeling Vicky Vale to safety. They could have done something like that, but still kind of cool. And I think that's all. I mean, for fun, we can give the left hand some attention. Pop that out. Slip on that open hand. Just some extra posing options. It's nice to have. There we go. We got the open hand here. So we can be saying calm down, I guess, or whatever. Or just have it at his side, and it's just a nice idle looking hand. So pretty good. But again, you don't want to turn the head. That's not accurate. So anyways, enough of me complaining. Let's move on to articulation. Let's just do that right here, right now. I'm going to get the accessories out of the way. If it's all the same to you. Once more, he has articulation in the head that he shouldn't have, but it is good. I mean, he's got his down, got your exorcist swivel, got your tilt as well. He's also got some up. So if you're not opposed to having a Keaton who can move his head around, then you do have it. So that's nice. Down to the torso. This shouldn't move either. It just doesn't look accurate. And I don't believe this was a flexible material. Let me know in the comments. I'm really not sure. But he can go quite a bit back. So that's nice. Forward quite a bit as well. It's got your tilt. You got your swivel as well. Butterfly joints in the elbows. In the shoulders, excuse me. Swivel all the way around, but again, kind of blocked by the cape there. Stretch out to past 90. Bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows. Again, if you held one of these Batman, then you've held them all. It's all the same. McFarlane style wrist joints, so they can go up, down, left, right, whatever hand you want. You do have a swivel right in there, and you got its own independent articulation beneath the belt, which is great. As for legs, good splits. Got your forward and some back as well. There is a little bit of a gap, so be sure that it doesn't eat away at the codpiece as it goes back. Double jointed knees, like so. Not all the way in, but honestly, I don't think you move that much in the movie anyway, so that's okay. And then down here at the ankles, we have back, forward, toe articulation, which I never use, but it's there. I can't imagine he'd be able to use that himself, but it does exist. And then you have some rocker. So, yeah, articulation's good. It's just a little excessive for this type of character, but it is consistent with the other McFarlane figures, I suppose. Now for some size comparisons. Over here on the left, you have the Super 7 Ultimates BBTS exclusive Undercover Raphael, who I just reviewed. My first ever Ninja Turtle, so kind of a special occasion here. And when we put the two Batmen next to each other, it is quite literally night and day. The differences here, already got a third-party head sculpt, got a new cape, which I didn't make myself, but I did add additional stitching in there because it was secured with double-sided tape, but the stitching helps it to stay in a little bit better. And I also traced in the oval around the Bat logo, which I need to improve a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that at some point. But putting them next to each other, there was a stark contrast in realism. Another thing worth mentioning is this Batman also has removable faceplates, so you can pop out the mouth. And you can swap it with, I think, 2 alternate ones, which I have stored away somewhere, so I don't know where though. But yeah, this head sculpt is far superior over this one. It's like they did this figure 3 times and they haven't improved it. That really is a sign of laziness in my opinion. But also we have the Christopher Reeve Superman, also with a third-party head sculpt. You really can't go wrong with those. And dull-coated suit. And the last thing we have here is, of course, the Star Wars Black Series Quash. And if you can get him over here, there he is. Mecha-Muck! Dank Ferrick, another one of these freaks. I'm no freak, I'm Batman. You're not Batman. The guy over there doing the world's most iconic T-pose is Batman. Hi, I'm Batman. I just Batman and Robin to my parents. Okay, before you get to final thoughts, there's actually one more thing I want to do. For those of you who haven't done it before, let's say you also have a modified Michael Keaton who you prefer more, but you want him to have those interchangeable hands and the wrist peg. You have 2 options. Firstly, you can get some warm water and just swap the joints, or you can do what I'm about to do, and it's just going to be simply to pop out the arms and to swap them. They're exactly the same body mold, so I see no reason why that swap would not be possible. I've already tested removing the arms from my Keaton, so I'm going to go and do that. He's kind of give it a pull. Oops, and there it goes. He lost his faceplate. Give me a second here. And now I removed both arms, but as you do that with any McFarlane figure, be sure that the butterfly joints remain positioned the same way, because there is a difference. You see, this one's a little more open. Over here, it's more closed off. The closed off one, the closed off end goes inside the figure, so bear that in mind. And there we go. Actually, it would kind of look cool as a empty suit if you blacked out the eyes here, so that would be an interesting option, but I'm not shelling out money for another head sculpt. And now we have the old arms, and let's put those aside in a pile, and now you'll remove the arms on this guy. Of course, on both of them, maybe less so on this one, because I don't care about the cape, but mind the cape, you don't want to ruin a nice third-party one if you've got one. And we should be able to pull this one out the exact same way. Yeah, if not easier, so that was good. Move that. Get that butterfly joint in there secure. Be sure it sticks around. Now you can take this arm out. There we go. Put that to the side. Now I've got my modded Batman. I'm going to take the arms on the new release and simply port them in. And it won't look any different, but it will have the correct joints, so the hands are now removable. So just like that. There we go. Little secret, actually, the hands are already removable on the default arms that he had, only because I warmed up the hands, popped them off, and I shaved down the mushroom joint, so something to keep in mind. And here we go. Now I have my definitive Keaton with swappable hands for once, which is really exciting. It's got the Batarang, which I might work on a little bit. I don't know where to start, really, but maybe I could do something with it. He's also got the open hand over here, and then we have a sad Batman over here who only has fists and nothing more. Really, final thoughts now. I think this figure is a total bummer. I think this is what's part of what I'm calling now Todd's last hurrah, because he's losing a license to Mattel. I've heard rumors that maybe he's going to try to extend the license for a year or 2. I have my doubts, though. That being said, he's kind of just cranking out the same old stuff, which I guess is a double-edged sword. I mean, firstly, for people who weren't able to get figures before, like for people who weren't able to get an Amazon exclusive or a 6-pack release of the Batman, they're able to get a vanilla one-off release of him that's mass distributed. So that's good to see. However, at the same time, that's time that could be being spent releasing a new figure of a new character that we have not seen in the line yet. There's so many characters on our wish lists that we're just not going to get because McFarlane's going to lose the license, although we won't have them in 7-inch scale, so it feels kind of like a waste of time, but at the same time, it's not the shittiest ass Batman that we've ever seen. If you don't have a Keaton, you can still get him. But it's one of those figures which I call a project figure, which isn't really a compliment. It's a figure that is as good as you make it, but it's not very good on its own. All the base components are there. The body is fantastic, and the bottom of the cowl is really good, but you definitely need to get your own cape, make it yourself, and get a third-party head sculpt or 3D print your own. I don't know what tech you have. And also this guy came with a whole bunch of hands and accessories, which, again, we moved over to here, along with the arms. So that was a necessary evil. That just had to happen, so I could have a perfect Michael Keaton to go with my Chris Reeve. So, like he poked in there. But yeah, this figure, objectively, forgetting about like the license passing and the fact that this is the third time, I do think it's a letdown overall. I mean, it served my purposes well, but if I was getting him just to get him, I wouldn't be too happy. Between this head sculpt that we've already seen, articulation where it's not supposed to be, the really bad cape. I think this is the worst cape I've ever seen on the DC Multiverse that isn't plastic. And also the accessories being a little oversized. The shurikens are definitely too big, so is a batarang. So is Grapnel Hook. So it's kind of a mixed bag. If you want him to perk up a Keaton that you already have, he's great. But otherwise, if you already have Keaton Batman, I don't think this guy is worth getting. Because even though he's got accessories and alternate hands and stuff like that, they are overly proportioned. And I don't know, it's kind of enough to just give him fists and nothing more. But really up to you. I mean, it sells for this standard price. He's not super exclusive or anything, so he is obtainable. So that's good to know. But anyways, that's my honest review on it. I didn't expect to be in love with this figure, but I was expecting to do an upgrade, which was a massive success. So let me know what you think in the comments, and that's all I got to say for today, so thank you very much. And if you enjoyed this review and you found it useful, then please, as per usual, be sure to like, comment,
ring the bell to be notified of our latest arrivals, and subscribe.
Yeah, hi, Mechabug here. If you want to see more from Pod Guy, then please be sure to check out the Pod Plays channel down in the description for some Let's Plays. And if you want to support the channel a bit too, you also got the Pod Patreon, which is down in the description as well. See you around, folks!
Thank you guys very much for watching. Rock on, and I will see you all later.